Greetings everybody, welcome to Hard Talk HR. I'm your host Mihaly Nagy. Hard Talk HR, we bring you fresh ideas, inspiring content from around the world of work by interviewing thought leaders and subject matter experts. In today's episode, I invited Claude Silver, the Chief Heart Officer of VaynerMedia, to talk about how to engage not just the minds but also the hearts of people, how to drive happiness that drives business outcome, how to develop necessary life skills in leaders in order to engage the people and drive peak performance. And more importantly, how to keep the culture while hiring at scale. So I hope you will enjoy today's episode. And if you do, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Visit our podcast page on Spreaker and Spotify. So Claude Silver, it's so good to have you here. I'm so happy to see you again. It's been a while. We met in Nice. And as I mentioned to our viewers in our introduction that today we are talking about happiness, talking about empathy-driven leadership. And before I hit the record button, we also talked a little bit about the future of the Chief Heart Officer and how it's important to start building trust and engagement in organization, connections in organization. So I'm very happy that you are here with us today. And let's straight jump into it. Happiness at work. What does it mean to you, and what does it mean at VaynerMedia? And how do you bridge probably the challenge of happiness at life and happiness at work, which of course we all know happiness in a way is a driver of performance.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for having me, and great to see you. And the question for me is one that is multifaceted, because happiness means different things to different people. So I would never assume that your happiness and my happiness are identical. But what I can say is engagement and fulfillment is something that I think is pretty much synonymous across the board, that we know what it's like when we are deeply engaged and we are deeply rooted and committed to what our work is, to the cause, to the culture. And as I've spoken about a lot, people's day starts when they wake up. It doesn't start when they walk into our office. And they're coming into this office with all kinds of different things that they've done in the morning, taking their dog out, taking their children to school, so forth and so on. What I believe is the most important part of helping them find fulfillment and engagement is creating a culture of belonging and a culture of safety, as I always speak about, but understanding that we are all human, period. We are all human. We are not robots. We all have emotion and ups and downs and side to side. So being open, as in my department and as the number two in this company, it's extremely important for me to have an ethos of openness and non-judgment and greeting people where they are, not expecting them to be where I want them to be, but greeting them where they are and helping them become the best that they can possibly be.
Speaking of emotions, you are a big advocate of it's time to change the terminology soft skills to life skills, and you are architecting empathy-driven leadership in your organization. Two questions: why do you suggest it's time to change? Why soft skills? Why life skills instead of soft skills? Is one, and the second part is, in your role as an architect, where does your role stop in creating empathy-driven leadership, and where are the roles of line managers start in echoing, amplifying your message across the business, across 900 people now at VaynerMedia?
Yeah. Okay. So the soft skill question for me is very easy. If you have the word hard and you have the word soft, one of them seems a lot stronger, doesn't it? The hard one. So right there, saying that those of us that are more empathetic or more right-brained are softer is incredibly demeaning to who we are as a human being. Right there, it's creating a better than. Oh, your hard skills, you're better than me. And this entire society is built on competition. And I just don't want that type of competition in my life personally, but certainly not in a place where I'm spending most of my time. Today, EQ and empathy and gratitude and being the bigger person, those are equated with high performance now. So why don't we change the terminology so that they look like they are equated with high performance, not that they're mushy and, oh, she's so sweet, and oh, isn't that so nice? That's not what it is. It's strength. It's real strength. So I call them necessary life skills or life skills because, let's face it, you have them. You just might not bring them into work every day. That's what we want to change. So that's number one. Number two is my role, I feel like, is very much like the wind. It's everywhere and it's nowhere. Meaning, I will never micromanage any kind of line manager, but if I hear that they are not being the bigger person or leaning in and being a guide or teacher, well, then I'll knock on their door and say, let's talk about what's happening. Why do you feel like you need to be so controlling or whatnot? So my role is to be everywhere and nowhere is the way I look at it.
And we're speaking of leadership and speaking of managers. Most organizations, probably everybody agrees, there's a tremendous challenge and tremendous pressure on mid-managers particularly, because they are in a way being pushed from the both stop and a button, so they're squeezed in the middle, need to deal with people, need to deliver numbers as well. So they require to be really up their game in terms of their leadership competencies. What is it that you're looking for when it comes to promoting somebody to a new leader? And adding on to the question, what are the skills and competencies do you think you can teach, and what are the skills competencies a leader must get born with?
Okay, I believe that you can teach almost anything. That's the first thing, almost anything. So we'll caveat that. The skills that we are looking for are always going to be human skills and people skills, and the ability to lead with empathy, to be somewhat of a servant leader, whatever that looks like for you, and to be a champion for other people. That to me is a tried and true leadership, to be a teacher as well. The things that will help your promotion are not only having those things solidified and showing that there has been growth, but also that you have become a subject matter expert in your field. And whether or not that's a creative, so you're creating content all day, videos, whatnot, we want to make sure that you know how to ideate, that you know how to be strategic, but also that you know how to be in front of a client. Because ultimately, we are in the service of clients. So you're measured on certain rungs or skill sets in that department. However, the ability to be a kind person, a compassionate person, a hardworking person based on merit is extremely important for us. We call our philosophy the honey empire. Honey empire, not empire honey. So what does come first is those human skills, 10 out of 10 times.
But performance drive everything. So yes, human skills, but you got to deliver results, right? That's the empire style of the honey empire.
However, I'll be very, very transparent. If you are the highest salesperson here and you don't have honey, it won't work. And we've made some very big decisions in the last 18 months on people that were incredible with clients and terrible managers and leaders.
As it happens very often with really high-performing salespeople, sadly. You went through quite a rapid growth in terms of headcount in your organization. And you have a very unique culture at VaynerMedia. So how do you manage hiring at scale while preserving your culture?
Yeah, well, I have to say our hiring techniques and methodologies have changed vastly, I would say, in the last year, based on some recruiters that I brought in, but some interview training, because I think that is an engine that you constantly have to be looking at. The hiring managers, the questions that we're asking, and what we're really looking for. We need to be very, very mano-y-mano on that. We have to have the same type of, we're looking for, we know what we're looking for. That's the first thing. Hiring at scale is, when we know what it is we're looking for, and we know that we're looking for people that are going to add to this culture but not be identical, is going to help us, that are going to bring some different type of inspiration in, that are going to bring some different kind of leadership in, or some rigor in. Those types of things allow us to hire at scale, because then we're not just doing it alone. We're not doing it in a box, in a microscope. It allows us to find people that have very similar values and similar thoughts and reasons to believe, but they have a different slant on it. And that allows us to get all the different types of animals in the kingdom, not just the lions, not just the whales, everyone.
And particularly in your business, it's a creative business, so you need all the differences and different ideas and different varieties. But I like very much what you said, that yes, it could be a culture fit, but we don't want identical people. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, well, and I don't call it culture fit. I call it culture addition.
Right.
That right is a very different way of looking at something.
Wonderful. And just before I hit the record button, we talked about the evolving role of the chief heart officer, of your role itself, and how the organization you and Gary has in terms of the future. Where do you see people's centricity going next within VaynerMedia? Can you please share us a few thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. So what you and I were speaking about, the idea that as human beings, we have our own bag, we have our own insecurities, we have our own fears and whatnot. And of course, we bring that into any type of organization that we're in. However, what we're really trying to do here is suffocate those fears, suffocate those insecurities by giving trust first, which means creating a safe environment for people to be whomever they are, as flawed as they are. The only thing we ask is that you are a good human being and you are the bigger person. However, we know that there are a lot of alphas out there that want to be extremely territorial with their thinking, their creative ideas, their network of clients that they hit. When you come from that type of scarcity model, you're not going to win. That's the first thing. And you're certainly not going to help this culture become the best culture it could possibly be. But more than anything, it's, I was talking about being the wind a little while ago. It is that type of attitude when you are holding something so tight and not letting other people touch it and mold it and shape it with you. It's you're like a big boulder, a big rock, huge mountain that won't move. And to be as fast-paced and fast-growing as we are, we need people to be much more fluid and trust that what is good for you is good for me, is good for her, is good for him. There is no, you are better than me, you are worse than me. So that type of vibe and energy is something that we have to constantly put into the water here. And that is trust. That is, you are safe. It's okay. You're not going to get fired because you lost that client. So it's just a psychological safety.
Indeed. It's creating the psychological safety, as Amy had mentioned at Harvard Business School, studied at our previous summit in Brussels. And of course, building trust in leadership, building trust in organizations, probably more important now than ever before. And you mentioned also connections. It's having this emotional attachment and connection of peoples and leaders, just staying more humane or becoming even more humane. Let's lose that corporate mask. What we tend to put on an organization.
Yeah, it's a different way to look at competition. It's competition as a team, rather competition as an individual.
It's more about probably, does it also mean that it requires a different style of leadership when we move forward? As you mentioned alpha, you mentioned, and we've seen in organization, we do see it even now in organization, that those with the biggest ego, the biggest drive get to the top. But eventually that potentially very much creates a very toxic culture in organization. So do we need a different type of leadership in terms of bringing more feminine qualities in terms of collaboration? Not necessarily, I mean, of course, ladies as well in terms of the gender diversity, but I'm talking the qualities of a collaboration, connection, empathy. That's what we need in leadership moving forward. Would you agree?
Imagine that type of egotistic macho leadership is going to get you to the top pretty fast, but I guarantee you, you will create toxicity within you. It's great to be driven. That's fantastic. But to think that you need no one is not fantastic. We're supposed to be connected and in community, you know, and I believe that to be true with leaders, and it takes time. It is not anything, you can't expect that to happen overnight, but I think that's where you have someone like Gary who is constantly watering that garden, letting us know that he trusts us. He expects a lot from us. He doesn't micromanage us. He trusts us constantly, but we have to be in connection with him. We can't think we can do it without.
Wonderful. Claude Silver, thank you very, very much for speaking with me this morning. Some people, of course, after the interview probably want to connect with you. Can they look you up on LinkedIn? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Oh, yeah, please write me on LinkedIn, and I write everyone back. It might take me a little while to get there, but I definitely would love to hear from anyone and everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Claude. Look forward to speaking to you and meeting you in person very soon again.